So having that set up, so we have the total liabilities for the historic balance sheet calculated. So we can also bring in the shareholders' equity, such as common shares, treasury stock at cost, additional paid in capital, accumulated other comprehensive loss, and return earnings. So we can go to the raw data tab, and we just copy what we have for the shareholders' equity. So we can copy that all the way down to return earnings. Just to double check. So we have that well copied, and then we can take the sum of the total stockholders' equity, and we can fill that right with Control R. So for the total liabilities and stockholders' equity, it's going to be equal to the sum of the total liabilities, and we have the shareholders' equity in place. We can fill that right with Control R. So the only thing that we have to do here, as we did with the account receivables, any restricted cash that was held in account receivable, we can also have that in place for the other assets. So in order to do that, we will hit F2. We deduct any restricted cash in other assets. So we can go down to where we develop the supporting schedules for the cash and cash equivalents. So we deduct any restricted cash in other assets. We have that in place there. We can fill that right to the end of the historic period. So we have that set up for the historic balance sheet for Amazon. So now we can double check if we have done it right by taking the difference between the total assets and the total liabilities and shareholders' equity. So we can see that the balance sheet balances, and we have that set up in place. So we can now move on to modeling the cash flow statement. So in this case, we will bring in the cash and cash equivalents and restricted cash at the beginning of the period. So in this case, we go to our raw data tab, and we grab the cash and cash equivalents and restricted cash beginning of period. We can fill that right with Control R. So we need to adjust the operating activity side of the cash flow statement. We need to adjust the net income to other non-cash items such as depreciation, amortization, stock-based compensation, and other non-cash expenses. And we will also have to adjust the net income to any changes in non-cash working capital. So in this case, we will grab the net income, which we calculated here in our income statement. So we have that in place there. We can fill that right to the end of the historic period. So now to account for the adjustments, it's gonna be, we will just reference to our raw data tab where we have all of those there in place. So in this case, we will just grab here the depreciation, stock-based compensation, and all the operating expenses So we will grab all of those. So for depreciation of property, plant and equipment, including internal use of software, we have that in place there. We can copy that for stock-based compensation, and then for other non-cash expenses, net is going to be equal to, we go to the raw data tab, and in this case, we will grab the sum of the other operating expenses net, other expenses income, deferred taxes as such. So we grab all of these other non-cash items such as operating expenses, other expenses or income, net. So we grab all of those, including deferred income taxes. We sum all of those together. So we have that in place that we can fill that right with Control R. So for the changes in non-cash working capital, we have inventory, account receivable, accounts payable, accrued expenses, and on revenue. So we already have those assumptions in our raw data tab. So we can go right down to where we have those, and in this case, we have here, we have inventory, we have all of those there. So we can just reference that, copy, we paste it for all the line items under the net changes in non-cash working capital. So we have those in place there.